What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Sean O'Malley reacts to Dana White's announcement. Ahead of this weekend's UFC Fight Night Austin card, Dana White dropped some pretty major news, announcing that the UFC 299 card, which will be headlined by a fight between Sugar Sean O'Malley and Chito Vera, will take place in Miami. While the fight had been previously announced, the location had not been made official until just this week, when White took to social media with a big announcement. In response, the bantamweight champion weighed in on social media, simply writing, "Miami, baby, let's go." Chito Vera was quick to aim at O'Malley during a recent interview with Michael Bisping, where he spoke about the upcoming fight as well.
I beat the out of him. And I walk away with a bag of cash and the belt. I mean, I really believe I'm gonna make him quit. Like, I really believe I'm gonna make him just be a shell of himself and just kick his ass, just like almost like beg me to stop kind of thing.
So far, the fight has divided the MMA community, with many confident that Vera can get the job done, and others confident that O'Malley can avenge the lone loss of his career. Next up, let's take a look at Ian Garry gets exposed in sparring. Amid Ian Garry making headlines recently after fans discovered his wife's Amazon book about how to be a successful wag, streaking middleweight Brendan Allen has now revealed that Garry was previously knocked out cold by someone while sparring at Kill Cliff MMA. The comments come on the heels of Leon Edwards denying that he knocked Garry out at Team Renegade after Paddy the Baddy alleged that Edwards had previously slept the Irish standout during training. While speaking in an interview with ESPN MMA, Brendan Allen recalled seeing Garry get knocked out at Kill Cliff.
But just know there's video, and he knows what name not to say to let it come out of what happened to him. I'm not going to release it, but just know there is someone in that gym that has slept him out. So for him to come in and say, oh, everyone knows how good he is striking and how good he is here and this and that and this and that. Yeah, everyone has their days.
From the sounds of things, the most popular theory posed by fans is that Shavkat Rakhmonov was the one to KO Garry in sparring. Based on comments Josh Thompson and Big John McCarthy made on their Weighing In podcast, the Punk's vague answer about his first-hand experience seeing Garry and Rakhmonov spar has many fans confident that the Nomad slept Garry in training. Next up, let's take a look at UFC Fights Get Leaked. During a recent appearance on the Full Send podcast, UFC CEO Dana White accidentally let cameras catch a glimpse of the matchmaking board for UFC 297, as well as the board for the February 10th card. Based on screenshots taken from the video, the UFC is looking to book a fight between Kevin Holland and Michael Venom Page for the UFC 297 card in Toronto on January 20th. The news comes on the heels of MVP stating that he and the UFC held talks. However, since then, the UFC has yet to announce his signing. The other matchmaking board that was seen was for the promotion's upcoming February 10th card. From the looks of things, the podcast episode was filmed some time ago, given that Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov are listed as headliners, and it's already been announced that Jack Hermanson and Joe Pyfer will be headlining. Despite that, a number of other fights seem to still be in the works for the card, according to the matchmaking board. Looking at the list, a bout between Brady Highstand and Rinya Nakamura seems to be targeted for the card, as well as a fight between Philip Rowe and Jeremiah Wells. In addition, it looks as though the UFC is trying to get Zach Pauga a fight on the card, with an opponent yet to be determined. In addition, it appears as though Court McGee and Nico Price will collide at the event, as well as Shailen Nurdimbeki and Haider Emil. As previously mentioned, given that the episode was seemingly filmed some time ago, without official word, we can't know whether these bouts are still a part of the UFC's plans. Next, let's take a look at Dana White breaks silence on Dillon Danis fighting in the UFC. Dillon Danis has continued to indicate that he plans to join the UFC for his next fight, while the outspoken and oftentimes controversial grappler turned fighter has claimed that he and UFC brass were going to sit down. There's been little news on the situation since then. During a recent appearance on the Full Send podcast, White finally opened up on potentially signing Danis. And from the sounds of things, despite the fact that Danis fighting in the UFC would undoubtedly do numbers, White isn't interested.
The other thing with him is, and I have no beef with the kid at all. I've probably said 2 words to him in my whole life, but every time he's around, going down. You know what I mean? And we can't have that stuff going on here. We can't. You know, a lot of people will see like when guys get into it on stage or something starts to happen, they're like, oh, they must love this or whatever. No, we don't love it. We don't need that. to sell fights.
Of course, as White is well aware, it was Dillon Danis who Khabib Nurmagomedov infamously jumped the cage to attack after defeating Conor McGregor. For his part, Danis has recently been in the headlines for leaking DMs with Ian Garry's wife from a number of years ago, only further adding to the list of reasons why White seems hesitant to sign Danis. Next, let's take a look at Johnny Walker fires back at cheating allegations. Longtime UFC vet Johnny Walker was recently accused of cheating on his wife with an underage girl. The situation quickly spread like wildfire among the MMA community, with many fans criticizing the light heavyweight for the situation. While it has not been proven that the girl is underage, Walker's infidelity has landed him in hot water with many fans. During a recent live video, Walker fired back at the person threatening to expose his alleged infidelity to his wife while shutting down the threats by revealing that his wife is already aware of the DMs in question.
Get a life,
on our phone.
get a
You're
job,
on our phone.
listen, get a
I
job,
have
get
all
a
the things you
life,
can
try to be happy, and
No,
try
do what you want.
try to have your own life and be happy. Do
Anyone can
the
text
best,
me and us, get it.
do the
I'll just
best
send it
for
to everyone.
yourself, okay? And I hope you have a better life. Listen, stop, spend your time in things that's not gonna give nothing back to you.
Walker, of course, has been gearing up for his highly anticipated rematch with Magomed Ankalaev in the new year. After their first fight was controversially called off after an illegal blow, Walker is eager to get his revenge in the new year. The rematch will headline the first event of 2024, meaning that media members could wind up asking Walker about the latest situation. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at Joe Rogan goes off on Jorge Masvidal. As fighters have said time and time again, one of the best parts about mixed martial arts is the fact that, at the end of the day, competitors have the chance to settle things inside the octagon. In the case of Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal, the pair's bitter feud extended beyond the 5 rounds that competed at UFC 272. Allegedly, Masvidal sucker punched Covington outside of a restaurant after their fight, forcing Covington out of action for quite some time. During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, the longtime UFC commentator weighed in on the past allegations against Masvidal.
Yeah, you can't be going around sucker punching people that just kicked your ass. You had your chance to punch them. Well, you can't just let people get away with that.
No.
Because then they're going to do it more often, and it's going to really muddy up the sport. It's going to be a real problem.
Despite Masvidal putting the situation behind him in court, it sounds as though the bad blood between he and Covington is far from over. Next, let's take a look at Nate Diaz will get dominated in MMA fight with Jake Paul. While Nate Diaz has made it clear that he has no plans to compete in MMA for any promotion besides the UFC, longtime UFC veteran Matt Brown recently controversially picked Jake Paul to beat Diaz in a hypothetical MMA bout. Although the bout seems unlikely to happen, despite Diaz being offered $15 million to fight Paul in a PFL Smart Cage, Brown feels as though the matchup is perfect for Paul. Speaking on a recent episode of The Fighter vs. the Writer, Brown spoke about the potential matchup.
Jake Paul is I'm going to pick him to win. I'm going to pick him to beat Nate Diaz in MMA. So we already know he can outbox him, right? When was the last time you seen Nate Diaz take someone down? But I don't think he'll be able to take him down, even if he tries to. Like, he's way, way undersized. Jake Paul is so much bigger than him. I don't know what weight it'll be at, probably 185. Nate's not a great wrestler. It's going to end up staying on the feet.
With the UFC's ongoing antitrust lawsuit, Diaz's payouts have been revealed for many of his UFC fights. Despite Diaz making $2.8 million for his first fight with Conor McGregor and $4.3 million for the highly anticipated rematch, the $15 million offered to Diaz by the PFL would be the biggest payday of his career from the looks of things. Given that, it'll be interesting to see what the Stockton superstar's next move will be. Sean O'Malley has been accused of using PEDs and cheating by Chito Vera ahead of their fight at UFC 299. Here's what Chito had to say about O'Malley.
You can do it the right way if you live your life right. I mean, if you're looking for like easier ways or like shortcuts, you won't make it. I mean, talking about that, this guy already tested positive before. I mean, it was an accident. I don't know.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he did. That's why our first fight got canceled. He tested positive a few times. And you know, now they call it micro, it's a little thing, but that little thing could be because you were cleaning yourself or because you're an idiot that you don't know how to read the ingredients or you don't ask your side about it, but that's just another topic.
Chito's insinuating that O'Malley could still be dabbling in steroids since he had used them in the past. Sean was suspended for 6 months by USADA after he tested positive for Ostarine before his fight at UFC 229. When he returned, O'Malley was rebooked with Chito Vera at UFC 239, but got another suspension by the Nevada State Athletic Commission after the banned substances had resurfaced. Top comments. It doesn't matter if Garry wants to sue Strickland. He doesn't have a case. Turns out talking shit isn't illegal. No judge would take that case. Can't wait to see Colby at the presser. It's been a while. Bisping is 100% correct. Khamzat must win his division first. What the hell does Khamzat think? The winner of Leon versus Colby makes sense. If he wins his division, I think he could go up to fight middleweight champ. Garry's wife made herself fair game when she decided to dictate Ian's career, how he markets himself, and what he says. Families are off limits until they step into the mix like she did. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.